too as grapes, by the way, if you care. The second thing that would happen is we could tax the stupid stuff and generate revenue of at least $1.5 billion every year just by the tax base.
Not cheap.
Now, already we have a change in our budget deficit in California alone for a year of about $2.5 billion. Imagine what we could do with that money. And the third thing, it seems to me, trumps the first two. The third thing is we would make marijuana less available for our children than it is today. Why? Because the alcohol is regulated and controlled by the government, and illegal drug dealers, illegal marijuana dealers, control the sale of marijuana. And as a result, they don't ask for ID.
I think if you wanted to start to do this, and that's why the DEA has fought it so hard, you would start by legalizing medical marijuana across the board. But you've seen how hard DEA has fought. They'll stop shipments of birdseed coming across the Canadian border that don't even have any THC content or can't get you high, can't grow any plants. And they will fight that tooth and nail because that's how flimsy the facade of the drug war is.
If you want to come home to your home, smoke marijuana, then that's your business. That's not the government's business. Now, our government has always told us it's addicted and, you know, and so forth, but marijuana has been around for many, many, many years and has never killed anybody.
What's your opinions about medical marijuana?
Well, that's a tough one. Tough one. If it's issued by tight controls by a physician, I don't know if I oppose that. Someone's dying of cancer, and that's going to help that person. I don't know if I'm strictly opposed to medical marijuana you're probably talking about. It can help the dying patient, but it has to be dispensed by a doctor, just like codeine and other drugs. Doctors dispense other drugs.
So the secret through all of this, I've been doing this for a lot of years, the secret boils down to one thing. Prohibition never works as well as regulation and control. Let me say that again. Prohibition never works as well as regulation and control. That doesn't mean that we abandon our children to cocaine use or marijuana use or anything else, but as soon as you prohibit something, you give up all control. And now the only people in control are the illegal drug sellers, and they do want your 14-year-old daughter to get hooked on cocaine.
Before, when you went to buy marijuana, you didn't find cocaine or heroin there. You didn't see guns. It wasn't a violent scene. That's why it was easy to catch us.
Due to the lack of profit potential, another category of naturally occurring drugs is rarely discussed when debating the drug war.
I just wonder what your opinions are about the use of the ritualistic drugs.
It's a question I rush to avoid. It's, you know, and I don't mean to be critical, but it's such a tiny, silly thing. It's almost not worth commenting on.
The Native Americans have had to fight long and hard for the use of peyote for their religious practice. Shamanism is the oldest religion in the world, and the war on drugs directly imposes itself upon our religious freedom and in fact, what is the oldest religion known to humankind.
Tribal members report a reduced rate in alcoholism, gambling addiction, and even drug addiction for those who go through the ancient hallucinogenic rituals.
We try to keep our young people from using alcohol and drugs through these ceremonies and telling them, you know, showing them the way of life that we're supposed to be living.
I think probably if there was a claim that, you know, that these kind of drugs actually help deal with alcohol abuse, that's probably silly. We had to get our treatment protocols from NIDA, not from malarkey.
Thousands of years of ancient tribal tradition now boiled down into one word.
Malarkey.
Known for being the man who introduced Timothy Leary to LSD, Dr. Gary Fisher believes that the drug war and religious suppression are one and the same.
The psychedelic drugs have been used through time in very positive ways, and they do not present a threat to anybody except the power establishment.
After getting word that my father's condition had taken a turn for the worse, I spoke with a doctor who uses hallucinogenic drugs in order to prepare terminally ill people for the inevitable transition.
In terms of the hallucinogens per se, my interest rests primarily in their potential application as a medical psychiatric treatment, and I believe that they're particularly valuable for patient populations that do not respond well to conventional treatments.
Diagnosed with terminal lung cancer, one would be hard-pressed to accuse Pam Sakuda of only wanting to get high.
The people who are waging the war on drugs have every interest in continuing to do so, because especially medicines like hallucinogens. And I think we all agree in these discussions that what they do is they allow you to change your perspective and to think outside of the box that you're closed into. And that's the last thing that this power structure wants, is for you to think outside of the box. In fact, they'd rather make your box smaller.
But here's an opportunity to have a truly religious experience, not hearing about religion, but to have that primal experience. Of course, your dad and his condition and all of his mindset, his rigidity would be highly unlikely to accept that.
Truth is, a sick person, a patient who is ill, should have the right to use anything that they can use that will help relieve their pain and suffering.
Because of my father's beliefs and the laws in Texas, I'll never know if naturally occurring drugs could have helped him through the most painful experience in his life. And in the end, like most Americans, he put his faith in Western medicine and lost his battle with cancer. My father lived an amazing life. He started with nothing and tirelessly worked his way to the top. And even though I didn't agree with his drinking, it was the way he chose to live. As far back as I can remember, my parents, like the rest of the World War II generation, all drank lots of hard liquor. Our country's psyche seems to be one fueled by alcohol, so it only makes sense that the drug war is against anything that threatens alcohol or tobacco.
When alcohol prohibition ended, it empowered a new group of entrepreneurs, the liquor industry. The tobacco industry has done a phenomenal job of jumping into the FDA and exempting its product from every single law that would have caused it to get off the shelf.
All my brothers, all them dead, my mom and dad, everybody else. I'm the only one left. They was a drinker. They died with cirrhosis of the liver.
Everybody likes to sin. Don't you like to sin?
Yeah, all the time. I don't know.
Okay.
I never call that a difficult lifestyle.
It depends on how much sinning you do, Pilgrim.
Ever since